ENFPs. They have high extroversion, high agreeableness, high openness to new experiences, but very low conscientiousness. ENFPs take their relationships very seriously. They also approach them with a childlike enthusiasm and energy. They seek and demand authenticity and depth in their personal relationships and work hard to make things work. They are warm, caring, affirming, affectionate, and highly invested in the health of their relationships, but would probably trade all of this for a piece of bread. They have excellent interpersonal skills and are able to inspire and motivate others to be the best they can be, especially with their ability to be shameless. ENFPs can sometimes be overwhelming with their enthusiasm, but they are generally highly valued for this genuine warmth and high ideals they have. Some strengths of this type are their good communication skills, the fact that they are very insightful into other people's thoughts and motives. They're very motivated, inspired, and bring out the best in others. They are warmly affectionate and affirming. They are very fun to be with their lively sense of humor, with the drama and optimism, and they are very oriented towards meeting the needs of others due to their very high agreeableness as well. Although this very high agreeableness also corroborates to some of the weaknesses of the ENFPs. For example, their tendency to be extremely suffocating and their difficulty in setting boundaries. Their enthusiasm, which although it is a positive point, can also lead them to be very unrealistic and very impractical ideas in real life. They are uninterested in dealing with the mundane matters such as cleaning, paying bills, or just owning a house. They cling to relationships even after they have turned bad. They tend to avoid conflicts and fights as much as possible, even the necessary ones. They have an extreme aversion to criticism. They do not pay attention to their own needs. They can get bored easily. They have difficulty reprimanding or punishing others. And their constant search for the perfect relationships can cause them to change partners very frequently. Now, the dominant function, or the way ENFP sees the world, is through the search of what is possible, the dominant extroverted intuition, NE. It is the ability to perceive something that is already happening and to be able to connect it with several other things that are also happening or that can come to be. It is a function linked to creativity, to openness to experiences. In Carl Jung's own words, a person with high extroverted intuition in the Freudian view will be someone who uses their psychic and vital energies, their own body, and places them into fantasy about reality. Like an INFP who will invent a personal world according to their emotions, FI over NE, the ENFP lives in this world as if it were truly a real place. Some examples of these would be, for example, Mabel Pines from Gravity Falls. It could be even Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony, or other characters like Hal from Moving Castle, Jinx from Arcane, or just Michael Scott from The Office. The NE dominant monologue is, "The world is full of meaning, of which I can give." Next, as an auxiliary function, the introverted feeling FI manifests as a form of judgment in this fantastic worldview of the ENFPs. They are always judging, especially people and their relationships between good and bad things, right and wrong. It is a very strong moral will that holds more to the emotions than to the intellect, so to speak. This is what makes many of these ENFPs connected to social causes, to nature, or minorities. They are the mediators, or the literal activists because of this. FI, as a function, is the creation of the individual's own morals. It is making one's own assessment rather than following what society and others believe is right. The FI auxiliary monologue is, "I need to isolate myself to process how I feel about the activities I've been doing lately and decide whether or not I should continue doing them." However, when the ENFP is in a loop, that is, when he does not reflect on his own values and personal evaluations of FI, he goes from NE to TE, or extroverted thinking. That is, he goes back and forth between two extroverted functions. TE is external rationality. It is what things are and how they appear. It is saying this is obvious, or things are as they are. That is done and dusted. It can often make the ENFPs impulsive and do things just because they think it is the right thing to do, without thinking properly. The problem with this is that they have not done any self-evaluation before making these decisions. In this case, decisions based on the FI, or the auxiliary function. But the TE child monologue would be, I will employ the most direct method available to achieve my goals, dream or impulse, no matter what it takes. The ENFP's shadow or inferior function is introverted sensing SI. If NE is the Freudian fantasy, inferior SI would be the repression. Everything the ENFP puts in the background and pretends not to care about or ignores altogether. It is a very unhealthy defense mechanism. It would be to completely disregard the past in favor of all of those things that are new, that the NE fantasies provide to it. Something that is very bad, because if you don't have this notion of the past, where you are coming from, you will hardly know the reasons for you being where you are and where you like to go from there in the future. For Carl Jung, these intuitives suffer because they do not stick to their ideas. As he himself says, if he could rest with the real thing, he would reap the fruit of his labors. But very soon he must be running after some new possibility, leaving his field planted while others reap their harvest. He wrote that in Psychological Types. The unhealthy SI inferior monologue would be, out with the old, in with the new, I'm going to dye my hair pink now. To overcome this, ENFPs should focus more on building their own values, rather than following their own impulsive desires. To develop their introverted feeling, they should spend more time with other types who use these functions, such as INFPs, more mature ENFPs, or even ENTPs, as they are better able to reconcile extroverted intuition with a logical judgment. The types that get along the best with ENFPs are intuitives in general, because they see the world in a similar way, as well as INFJs and INTJs, because they can funnel all those ideas that the ENFP gives, while the ENFP creates several possibilities. The dominant introverted intuitives provide the direction, the depth necessary to develop those ideas and make them more practical and really come to fruition. Now, comparing with other types, INFPs are much more depressed, sensitive, and whinny than the ENFPs. The ENFJs like to work, the ESFPs have sex, and the ENTPs are identical to the ENFPs, but are much better at everything else. In real life, they are somewhere between Charles Manson and already say Michael Scott, or even Misato from Neo Genesis Evangelion. They are all emotional parasites that will mostly suck the ends of your soul with so much joy, rainbows, and unicorns. And if you find one on Twitter, it's probably because he was trying to cancel you, just like Hassan Abi.